Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guests today aren't just designing cool cups. They're reshaping how we think about the craft of drinkware, the rituals of pouring, and the conversations that happen over a good drink. Please welcome the owners of Atomic Drinkware, Rose Tipitino and Nick Leibee. What's going on, guys?
Hey, Biggie.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. I always like to ask the question, what's your go-to lunch or sandwich?
You go first.
Lately, it's been the Bellini's Hot Italian at Wrap It Up. Bellini's, if you remember Bellini's from back in the day, it was an Italian restaurant in DeLand. It was fantastic. I think I survived on that through my years at Stetson. It was cheaper to eat there than it was at school. And I would just go down there and get I think it was $3, and you get this massive sandwich. And their thing is that they lay it flat. They lay the bread flat, and they put the fresh cut meats on there. Even he used to stand there and cut the meat, and put it on there, and then with other toppings, and then they broil it, in the pizza oven, and then they come out and they take this huge slap of mayonnaise and just where they put the vegetables on. This huge slap of mayonnaise, just slap it on top of everything. Like the mayonnaise is not on the bread; it's all in the toppings, and it's as messy as it sounds, especially if you have a mustache or anything like that. But I think it used to be $3 for that sandwich, and I survived on those things and the other things at the restaurant. But anyway, Wrap It Up is owned by his nephew.
Okay.
They now took the recipe for the sandwich and now recreated it and sell it at Wrap It Up, which is downtown.
I love it. What about you, Rose?
My go-to right now is hard to say. I'm gluten-free, so it makes it a little harder to eat out. But I did find that Hollerbox in Sanford, the deli, has gluten-free bread that they make, and phenomenal. I love all sandwiches. I've always gone for sandwiches. The first thing I had after I gave birth to my kid was a huge turkey club. I wanted a cold cut sandwich so bad. But my most recent favorite was one that Nick made for me, and it's mayonnaise and horseradish and leftover.
Oh, it's the brisket sandwich.
Leftover brisket.
It's a brisket sandwich with just mayonnaise and horseradish. The brisket has to be really good, though.
That's my current favorite.
And then it's better if it's toasted. It's on toast, and I think we've had it on focaccia once, which was really.
I love this. All right, so tell people about Atomic Drinkware. How did you guys come up with the idea? How did you guys come up with the start of doing it? I know it's obviously a stylish hand-painted retro glassware for modern life, but tell people what was the idea? How did it come? What's the origin story?
We collect vintage stuff. We've always been into vintage stuff and thrift shopping and everything. And one thing you have a hard time finding is that old glassware. And if you can find it, it's one or two of them. It's not a set. And then if you do, and if you find those two, then the gold is all rubbed off. And then on top of that, what you do have has lead in it, is what you're left with. So they're cool.
You're not drinking from it.
Yeah, you don't want to lick the outside of it and chew it. But the
don't put it in the dishwasher.
But a lot of the vintage glass has lead in it, and and it's special stuff. Usually, if you have a nice set of it, it can go from $400, $800, something like that, depending on the design or whatever, for a set of 8, and but those have a lot of gold and everything on them, and it was a ceramic sort of high fire technique back in the day that they used to do that. We could never find what we wanted, and I was like, maybe we could make these somehow, and then I was starting to do some research and I discovered that you can screen print on cylinders, and it's a whole backwards way of screen printing if you're familiar with t-shirt screen printing. But I sort of figured out how to do it and built some presses and bought the inks and tried it out, and she let me spend some money. I think we spent the first Trump check on that. I think we spent the first Trump check on that. This was during COVID. This is during COVID. Because we're both graphic designers way back. And as you know, it's not a great time to be a graphic designer, especially people in graphic designer in their mid-40s. So you sort of have to make your own way. So this is, we sort of stumbled on this, and she was like, okay, well, we'll see if it works. And then we tried it.
He told me he'd put $500.
It was going to be $500.
Let me just try this. It's going to be $500. $5,000 later.
Yeah, it was the first initial round. I think was about $2,000, and a lot of time in the garage tinkering and whatnot. Yeah. And so, but it worked. And I'm like, well, let's see what we can do with this. And then we started developing the designs and continuing to build on the press and refine it and perfect it so that it was, you could bust out hundreds of glasses a day without any sort of like problems, And so we got there. It was reliable enough to start building, making glass on. So the ink is a 2-part epoxy, and it's non-toxic and everything, but you have to bake it on. Each color bakes on in a separate layer. So it's like screen printing. It's traditional screen printing, basically. So you put one on, you got to put it in the oven and cook it, but it's not a super high temperature. I think it's 230 degrees or something. But we bought this oven off Craigslist.
No, he tried to cook the first batch in the kitchen.
Yeah, in the vintage oven in the kitchen.
In my vintage 1965 yellow oven.
Oh my goodness.
The stuff is,
like, we're buying an oven.
The stuff is non-toxic after it cures.
Yeah.
It is only toxic before that. So it doesn't smell good. It doesn't.
Right away, I was like, we're going on, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace,
right.
Craigslist, whatever.
We went to Deltona. We drove to Deltona and bought a $30 oven or something like that, and stuck it on wheels and plugged it out in the garage, and started cooking in that. So I could maybe cook like 30 glasses at a time or something.
Yeah.
This was way back. And then we started selling them pretty soon. And we were like, I printed like 10 sets of this. Let's put it up for sale. And a different part of the story, but as soon as we started putting it up, people bought it. People started buying it, and people tried it out and took chances. But she had done a lot of social media up to the release, up to that opening online.
Like, where did the name Atomic Drinkware come from?
So our very first designs were very mid-century inspired. We started with the graphic design before we actually had any finished
We
product.
didn't even know how to make the product yet. I had not built the presses at this point.
So we named the company before we had finished any glassware. We had started making designs. We knew we wanted it to be mid-century style, and at first that was really what we were, going with. And since then we've expanded out from just mid-century. We've got more 70s style and kind of 80s and mod. And so at the time we knew we wanted to be something that definitely evoked mid-century and also the nostalgia and right away you knew what we were. You knew it was drinkware. And there happened to not be any other companies named that. And so we grabbed it. So I think we named the company in November and started on the graphic design, and then didn't actually release any product until April.
Yeah.
And so we had our boxes done, we had our logo done, we had everything done before glassware was printed.
I think we knew what we were doing by that because we had already sized the glassware, but it was very close. It was a lot of, we weren't losing anything because we didn't have a storefront or anything like that. It was just right out of our house. So all of this is taking place in our garage.
It was during COVID. I was a middle school art teacher at the time. And so, we were home. The kids were home. They were young at the time as well. They're both teenagers now. So we wanted to figure out something that we could, do and maybe pivot and make a living. And then I think we got really lucky too, because right at the time, everybody was home. People were really investing in their home.
Bars were closed.
Being more beautiful, enjoying the everyday that they were stuck there. Bars were closed, restaurants were closed, and a lot of people didn't want to go out even when they did reopen. So people were entertaining at home. And so we kind of got lucky just with that correlation. And then also social media at the time was...
Well, Instagram was good back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, other than we both are graphic designers and artists and come from that background, but we had never started a business. We'd never run a business. So we just sort of were winging it. I feel like we're still winging it. But Instagram worked for us at that time. We were just we didn't advertise. We didn't do sponsored ads. We weren't putting any money into it because we didn't have any money to put into it. And people just saw our stuff. We ended up, a shop here in DeLand, Sidecar Home Market. Derek and Jesse, they're amazing. They reached out to us. They saw our stuff on Instagram. probably because I think Rusty and Courtney saw our stuff from Newfangled. And so they just started coming and asking me to, do you want to be in our shop? Maffrey's in Orlando over
Yeah.
at Ivanhoe reached out early days and, wanted to support us. And so we started wholesaling and we started doing markets. Same thing. Rusty and Courtney reached out to us from DeLand Indie Market. And, we were just sort of flying by the seat of our pants, like always.
One day to the next.
One day to the next. But it worked and people liked it. And so we grew from there.
Yeah, this has been a very pay-as-you-go.
I'm kind of curious because I was expecting to hear some part of the story because I read somewhere, Nick, this came to you in a dream?
Oh yeah.
Like, is that true? Like, did you I'll just wake up and you're like, you know what? I think I should cups. I want to do make my own cups. Is that kind of how it went, or what? Or it was a design? Like, what exactly happened there?
I can't remember what was on the cup in the dream, but I remember I was doing it. It was a machine that sort of did this thing.
He had a high dream.
Yeah, so that was a high idea. But I don't know. I woke up.
I love it. No. We're keeping the idea. That may even become one of the things that comes out of the video clip. So you had a dream. So you had a dream that you were making the drinkware or the cups.
I was somehow in the dream I could see the press and how it worked, or the basic functionality of it. No, it's a dream. So the basic concept was there, and I woke up and I'm like, huh. And I'm always tinkering. I'm always like getting ADHD. I get obsessed about something. This whole business is the product of basically ADHD on both of our parts, whatever. And it's just because we just dove into it, just went nuts, and it's like, well, this is and it worked. I mean, we were excited about it because we were able to make cool stuff, and it worked. Like the first cup I pulled off the press, I was like, holy shit, it worked, and I was just stoked that it worked the first time. It didn't work very well, but I could tell that it was something I could work on and design all. I could design out all the issues in the press and everything. So
I think every design since then, right? Like every new design is our favorite design. Like every time we pull it off, we're always like, oh my God, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's the new baby.
Because you work and work and work, whether you're drawing it in Procreate or you're on Illustrator. And
it never gets old, actually. And then touching it, because it's a multi-layer process. So when you pick up the cup, you get that feeling of that texture of the ink on there in layers, which is what you used to get from the vintage stuff, which you don't get from the new modern stuff that are digitally printed. It's very flat. It's very lifeless. The colors aren't very bright or rich, and they don't last very long because they're just printed on there. And you pick it up and you can feel it. And it's all about it's all about the nostalgic feel and the look and and the design and everything. And people like it. I think we stumbled into a very small niche, but a very popular one with this retro, as in like reproduction type of stuff. And so far we haven't copied any designs from any of the old stuff. We've tried to generally stick to making our own stuff. We're artists or whatever, so there's no excuse for ripping anybody off. But if you can do it yourself anyway. We get a lot of requests and stuff for various custom glasses, or can you reprint the Franciscan Starburst? Or no, that's people are already doing that. That's I don't know how good they are.
Go somewhere else. Yeah, go somewhere else for that.
You can get that somewhere else.
So you guys have been it's going to be close to 5 years, 4.5 years in business. Was there like an aha moment that you guys are like, oh crap, like we actually can be doing this full time, and like this is like we got something here?
There's a few actually. There was a couple times, like especially with markets. We dreaded markets at the beginning. We're like, this is lame.
It was a lot of work. It's a lot of. Anybody who's done markets know it's a ton of work, right? You're loading and prepping, and then you're unloading and setting up and selling all day and taking down, and there's a lot more heavy lifting than I was expecting. Mm-hmm.
In your case, even more so since it's glass, and I'd be even more concerned about wind or anything else, and like, is my stuff's gonna break and shatter? And I'm like,
we're always worried about other people's tents and their weights.
They're gonna blow into ours.
Yep.
Into ours.
We carry extra weights usually to offer. some people that didn't bring weights that are close
No,
to
I get it. For your own, for your heck yeah. Hey, you need some help? Hey, I got some weights if you need some extra.
strap them on there for
it's
you.
a little windy today.
So besides a market, like I mean, obviously that's obviously one of my favorite things about markets is the positive reinforcement or ideas of it. But were there any other aha moments that you're like, oh man, I'm like, I think this is it?
That first Christmas, I think, or first Halloween.
No, the first Halloween.
It was the first Halloween.
It was the first Halloween.
I think it was our first. We launched in April.
Yes.
We launched because we do seasonal lines basically, and nobody had ever seen it or anything. It was all new.
Right.
I tried to put myself back at 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I think that there was kind of a void at the time. And now, you can find Halloween glassware, you can find Michael's with vinyl wrap stickers, stuff like that. But at the time, it didn't seem like there was a ton. And we were like, we have to do a Halloween glass. And just people came out of the woodwork. I didn't realize there were so many spooky girls that needed Halloween glassware in their life. And so it just sort of blew us out of the water. We weren't expecting that kind of reception. And then that kept going through the holidays.
We could probably change our name to Halloween Drinkware
and sell it year round because people love it.
Yeah.
So I think that first Halloween, we were like, maybe we can do this. But I kept teaching for another year.
And we were still printing in very small volumes.
Very small volume. We still are printing, and we're still small batch.
But she upgraded me to a double oven. It's a nice double oven in the garage.
I was going to ask how that transition has gone.
I can now bake. I went from like 27 glasses, I think, in the old oven. So now I can bake. I can bake at one time. I can 144 rocks, which is the small short one.
Yep, it's one of these.
Wide short one.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is. I can do 144 of those at a time. I think like 112 of the Collins ones, but I figured out how to cram them all in, and it's a convection oven. I don't want to get into that, but yeah, it's much better. It's a much better situation, and we have like some things where I can print more than I can cook, so I can sort of print, fill the oven, and keep printing, and set them on racks and stuff, and keep the dust off of them, and then cycle them out of the ovens and stuff. We really do need another oven, but. We're making it work. I can only work so hard.
So I know I asked the question since we have the glassware behind there, and I know I asked the question about what's your go-to like lunch or sandwich, but what's your go-to like a drink out of your cups? Like, is there something that you guys prefer to drink out of? Is it pretty much it doesn't matter? It could be water, it could be anything, or is there anything that you have a preference of when you're drinking out of your drinkware?
So
I would prefer a old-fashioned. But we don't really drink anymore.
I would prefer a gin and tonic.
Yeah, or a gin and tonic would be really good.
Okay.
But maybe mostly our daily, we're doing a little bit of juice and a whole bunch of seltzer and just making a mocktail. But
I gotcha.
It's the easiest mocktail.
Yeah, so
maybe a little squeeze of lime.
We started a barware business and then promptly stopped drinking.
Nothing wrong with that, especially since like the trend, and I think that's one of the big things that I've noticed is, which I think is such a great thing, because the mocktails and the cocktail, like all those things, that whole realm has grown so much in the last few years. So it definitely hits like how you guys have been able to, that's like the other great thing about it. Not to mention, I totally agree, like the nostalgia, being able to touch it and actually feel the quality of what you guys do with this. Like, it's like, yes, people can do a vinyl version of this, but like this is actually like, I mean, it is beautiful the way it's printed, the way it's done. How long did that printing aspect take you to kind of like actually figure out and master? Like, because I mean, that's not something. I saw a video of it on your Instagram of it, and I was like, I enjoyed watching it, just seeing like how it rolls, how you roll it, and how the whole process, because obviously it's cylindrical. So like, how long did that thing take you to kind of, from the moment you've kind of figured out a concept to like, okay, now I got this?
I think you didn't think you were like, now I've got this until like 2 months ago. It's like
with every improvement, with every slight improvement, you realize you didn't have it right to begin with.
Yeah. So Nick, was it one of those things that you had at least figured out, like, okay, this is how you print on a cylinder type thing?
It's a pretty standard thing to be able to print on a cylinder. That
Yeah.
process has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Basically, the cylinder's on the rollers, and you pull the screen across the cylinder, and it transfers the image onto the rolling cylinder, and that's been around forever. There's various different types of presses and stuff like that for it, but that when you start using any other shape of glass, like anything with a taper to it, like a pint glass or shot glass or anything like that, and you start losing. A cone doesn't roll in a straight line, so you can't. If you pull a screen straight over a cone, it's just going to sort of rub on one end or the other, and that's why a lot of times when you see like a pint glass in a bar or whatever, it's just the only thing printed on it is right there in the center, right?
The smack center. Yeah.
Right, smack in the center, because their effective area of printing on that is only about, I don't know, 3 inches or something. It's something like that. But you have to compensate for that, the cone in the design. And the press I designed is sort of still a secret, but
No, that's great. And I
don't share that.
I was going to say, like, no, I don't want any trade secrets, because I want people to be able to at least be able to go see it and be able to purchase and see what you've done. But I'm assuming a lot of it is you tinkering and having to figure out ways of like, okay, I can make this a makeshift version of it, because you're the only one like kind of producing this type of stuff. So which is phenomenal.
So I built the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think the original was made of skateboard bearings and,
That's awesome.
Scrap wood, and because I do a lot of woodwork anyway, so
yeah,
roller skate, roller.
All right,
you can see those in the videos actually.
Yeah, no, I love that. So where did the inspiration, like the art inspiration, since both of you? So I guess let me first, before I ask the inspiration of art, are both your styles similar, or is it just kind of like a blend, like it blends? Because I'm always kind of curious, because obviously you're both artistic, so therefore you both have to have, I'm assuming, a say, or you kind of, how does that I guess relationship work when it comes to that, in the idea of inspiration for collections and designs and like making it all blend together?
So I usually pull together the inspirations. So I'll have inspiration stuff. A lot of times will be looking at old holiday cards, like old product boxes, all kinds of stuff. And then we have inspiration around us too. We have ridiculous cats. Which is a lot of what we based our Halloween glass off this year.
Yes, with the pumpkins. That's phenomenal.
And then we've got inspiration just from like our grandma's houses and stuff like that. So, we kind of start pulling that together. We usually pull together a palette together, and then we kind of just go into it. We're like, we have conversations. This is what I'm thinking. This is what he's thinking.
Well, it has to get past the proposal. Like we have a years long of actual ideas, but but it's like, well, what are we going to release? And then it's like we pick one to go with, and then we come up with a few versions of it. And I'll get in either an Illustrator, or I do most of the, I'll set up most of the art and everything, and
do Procreate.
Yeah. Usually switching from like Illustrator, moving up to straight lines and smooth lines, and to back to hand drawn, doing it hand drawn, and having that even more vintage feel, which is really what we wanted to build into it. So I've been, every design so far recently has been done in Procreate, and it's worked out really well. It's nice. You can get the retro supply brushes and really do a lot of cool old illustrations and stuff like that.
He says that everything goes through me as the final.
Oh no, she has final say on. She's the art. She's mostly the art director. She has final say on designs or colors or anything like that. Because I'll fart out like a dozen things and just be like, all right, what do we like? And I have a hard time editing my own stuff, and vice versa. So it's like, and then it clicks. You're sitting there, whatever else, and you're struggling with it, whatever, and you just keep playing with it and erasing it, whatever else, and all of a sudden it's there. You're like, holy, this is it. Look at this, and right now I'm designing drawing out a Krampus glass, and that's been quite the departure from what I'm normally used to, because I don't usually draw characters or anything. But that's like a whole. It's fun because now we're challenged to draw and do things out of our comfort zone, like illustrating how many different styles you have to learn how to make that style. And it's like, oh, this is on the fly. You know, we don't have time to do we don't have time to practice this style for years or months or days. It's got to be done the first time, you know, maybe work in layers, and like the next layer can be a little better than the last layer. And just, you know, you got to get it out.
Well, this one's interesting because with the Krampus glass, like I chose the design for the background. I'm like, this is exactly what I want. These are the colors I want. This is how I want it to look. You know, we're putting this together, and then, but he's doing all the Krampus character himself. So I'm like, I don't care, whatever you want to do. And he's like, how's this look? I'm like,
I think
his head looks weird.
I'm gonna change it again before it's too. Yeah, but you guys will see that soon.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna try to have it for Spooky Empire.
No, we won't have it by then. No. But we'll have it for Krampus Fest.
We'll have it for Krampus Fest, yeah. Which is awesome. You guys, did you ever been to Krampus Fest?
I have been to Krampus Fest. Let me ask you, because obviously you guys we've talked about, so you kind of have, just to kind of paint the picture as the business, you have the wholesale aspect of it, you have the online sale aspect of it, but then you also have, obviously, part which also kind of gave some of the aha moment of it which is when you do markets and people actually get to see it, touch it, and actually buy it. How do you decide, like, is it every weekend you're doing a market, you're going everywhere? Like, how are you deciding the markets? Because there's a lot of markets. Sometimes there's I feel like there's not enough markets, and then I feel like then there's too many markets. So I'm kind of curious on how you guys kind of figure out where, what market am I going to try? Where haven't been that maybe I want to go to, or how far have you traveled? What do you guys put into that? Because it's the two of you, so it's you guys kind of have, and like you said, there's a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to all that stuff. So my question, I guess, is how do you guys figure out that part out when it comes to markets?
So like we said, the very, very first market we did was because we were invited by Courtney, and she was like, come try this out. And then after that, it was really, we started just word of mouth with vendors, a lot of invitations after people had seen us set up at markets, and people will walk around and they're like, hey, come to my market. And there's been a lot of trial and error. There are markets that we did only one time and we don't go back because, maybe we didn't make booth. Or maybe it was just a little bit more, but that's not really enough for us to put in 3 days of labor, because it's not just
not the right crowd, or
and if it's not the right crowd,
certain events don't.
You need to have people who
vending also
want to buy glassware, which sometimes people don't need any more glassware. They're past that point in their life, or sometimes they're not quite there yet. They don't have their own apartment. Stuff like that. So we have a lot of
people in costumes don't buy glass.
People in costumes, it's harder to buy glass if you're already.
So don't do any costume convention things.
Interesting. Okay.
But we still do the spooky ones. But
no, but they're not all in. Yeah.
But people in costumes don't want to come into our booth. They're really large. They've got a tail or something, right? So it's been a lot of trial and error, but then it's also been word of mouth, just making friends with the people around us, seeing who else is selling something that's kind of like what we're selling, and that's really cool, because there's a lot of sticker vendors, there's a lot of different kinds of vendors, but having something that is more like a home good, and that also has that vintage vibe. There's a lot of crossover markets.
Yeah,
so you have do a spooky market, and then the next week we can go do Rockabilly Q, which we're doing in Charleston, South Carolina, in November, and that will be the furthest we've gone. As far as the furthest we've gone for a market before that I think it was Rockabilly Q in Florida. It was a Immokalee, which is way down in the Everglades.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that's always a tough one, right? When you're trying to look to see, because it's always, and I'd be very curious, when you go, especially this being your furthest location, when you go, is the fact of how does that work? Because obviously, you kind of want to own your backyard, but then at the same time, it's always nice to be able to kind of spread out and be able to show other people to see it, because obviously I always tell people I feel like I'm a speck in the world of the internet, where no one knows who I am or what I am about. When it's kind of oh, you're a sandwich themed clothing brand, I had no idea, and you're okay, and it's how, but you can go anywhere with something like that. But it's always a tough one, because then you have to figure out, like you said, there's some events where will I make booth fee? Will I make the table fee? And then it's like, do I want to take that investment to go do it? But that's also part of when it comes to it, and that's always a it's always a tough one when you're trying to figure out like where do I go, what's going to be a good fit, how is that market, how does it fit within my group? Always a hard decision when it comes to stuff like that.
Speaking of like the loaning your area, though, is like we did so many markets that I think we sort of hit some sort of market saturation at some point, especially in DeLand, because we were doing markets, but everyone, I think the third or fourth one, like people were like, "Hi, I have this one. Oh, we love you," but everyone already had it. They were like, I think we tapped DeLand out. They were really supportive of us at the beginning, super supportive. We were doing delivery. We were delivering door to door.
Really?
At that right when we first started, because there was all local orders, word of mouth and whatnot. People would see it down at Sidecar, and then they'd order more, but yeah, so we were actually dropping it.
We were meeting people in parking lots.
People.
They're like, "I'm in town. Can I just come get it?"
That is a weird one. Have you ever had anything kind of weird like that during one of those like parking lot ones? Because I had one that was kind of funky, because obviously my stuff comes in a brown paper bag, and I met someone at a 7-Eleven, and I had a cop was there and watching me, and I'm handing him the bag. Cop comes over, and I'm like, no. I'm like, officer, this is like a clothing brand. I'm like, you're going to have to open it. And you're going to have to show him what it is. And he had to literally open up the bag and like pull out the shirts. And he's like, these are shirts. They're wrapped like sandwiches. Like, he's like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, I swear to God, officer. I was like, yeah, I'm like, here's my business card. Here's a sticker. But so yeah, it's always interesting when you have like that kind of drop off of like meeting someone, when it comes, especially when it's something that you've created or your thing. It's not like you're doing like a Facebook marketplace drop off for like an oven or something, right? Things like that. No, that's awesome. What advice would you have for someone wanting to start something?
Just start.
Don't wait for there to be enough money.
Don't wait for the right
do what
time.
You can. Yeah.
There is no right time. Build it out of
plywood and roller skate bearings and whatever else, and just be as cheap as you can, but just try to get something, because you pretty much that portion of it, you figure out what not to do. Find all the stuff that doesn't work, and you figure out how cheap of something you can get away with. If you're coming from the bottom, if you're coming from the top, then you got investors and you just buy all the nice stuff and whatever.
Yeah,
that's not it.
But I will say there is something about the climb and having that and being the build, like especially like you said in your process of like even just creating your own process and the building of it, or even the fact of, hey, we've grown so much now we need a double oven versus a regular oven, right? It's like there is something to be said about that, to be able to see those things. Is there a way that you guys mark or kind of like look back? Are you one of those that will look back to kind of see like where you've gone along your journey and where you've kind of come from, along the way? I know for me, it's mostly a lot of times me staring at different more shirts.
He's shaking his head.
I'd like to say we keep track of that, but normally it just comes back to haunt us.
Yes.
Least expected, but nothing bad really.
But when you say that, is that one of those where like this design would have been great, but it didn't do as well as I thought, like that type of stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a few of those.
The algorithm will kill a design. Like if we'll put up an amazing design and the algorithm will just be crapping on us that week, and there's no way you can bring it back after that. And
just reposted, but
it's happened several times.
There are definitely, there are designs that did not do as well as definitely we had hoped.
Some ones we had high hopes for that people just weren't into.
Yeah.
But they've all, that's the thing though. They've all sold very slowly.
I think that's the thing though. And that's the part that upsets me, because then you almost have to think the mindset of like, was I that far ahead? Like I was thinking that far ahead that I was like ahead of the market, because then you're like, oh, wait a second. I sold out of it. I sold out of it already. I'm like, but it took forever for me to do it, but I did. Right. And then like, do I reprint that? Because you guys will reprint some of your stuff, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of, some of the high performer ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the high performer ones were always kind of reprinting.
We could probably be printing Scooter's Atomic Space Cat glass full time and not have a problem,
Yeah. But there are some, like, I really like the basics. I love just having like the good double stripe, and the cosmic rays. And I want those in every single colorway so that they can always be mix and matched. Like I love having the good mix and match. I'm like, okay, you know, we started with our signature colors, which were like the aqua pink and yellow. And I'm like, everything needs to be available in some way of these colors. So, you know, we have our base standard inks, and those are what we mix by eye. We have all our recipes, you know, but we still always end up kind of mixing it by eye. Things change, the humidity, the heat, like it changes everything. So, but we have our base colors, and we try to make sure that all of our glassware kind of can coordinate. Up until recently, we've sold only in sets. So our Collins were always in a set of 4. Our rocks were always in a set of 2.
Even at markets.
Even at markets. Yeah. And so now at markets, we sell individually. So we're breaking the sets apart. People can mix and match. And I think it gives so much more flexibility, because a lot of our clients and our customers, I guess, a lot of our customers are collectors. You know, they want all the new designs. So we have a ton of repeat customers, people who will come see us at markets. Oh, I have this one, I have that one. Now I want to get this one. What's new, you know? And so
they get a little worked up too. The collectors.
they want something new. They're like, when is it going to be released? You know, so we're always we're flying by the seat of our pants, but we're like, we're going to get it done. Right. You know, so now that we're selling more individually, even more, I want those basics, you know, the double stripe, which is just reminds me of sitting at like the kitchen table in like the 1950s.
That's one of the, going back to like a transition. That's probably one of the most recent ones is the transition from selling sets only to selling singles, because we didn't want to sell singles because I don't know why, I can't remember. It was whatever reasoning we had.
Ship in the
it was easier to ship. The boxes hold 4 Collins or 2 rocks, so it was much safer to ship in the boxes. So we've now just developed ways of wrapping them so they don't break, the individual ones and everything. So
not everything's online as singles yet. Like it's a ton of work to like go through and change each product and in each inventory. So as we restock things, as we put up, like all the Halloween has been up as singles. When we put up our holiday stuff, everything's going to go up as singles. So we're trying to kind of do that transition without it being so laborious, because it is just the 2 of us. So if I'm packing orders and he's printing, nobody's doing the website. You know, it's like if I'm going to markets and
we've got teenagers,
and we've got and there's teenagers and stuff.
Doing dogs and cats.
So it's always a juggling act. It's always like, okay, what do we have to focus on today? What's the most important thing? Okay, you know, and I try and be more organized, and we have dry erase boards, and I have so many reminder lists, and
it's all wishful thinking, though.
Google Sheets lists.
You still got to do it, but it's pretty wishful thinking. It all just falls apart. You're like, oh crap, we just sold that.
It's like, oh, we're behind again. Everything's sold out again, which is a great problem to have.
Yeah.
You know, that we constantly feel like we're just trying to keep our head above
water. What we need is, you know, we are at the part where we need to expand. We're conscious of the fact that we need to make the next move into a bigger space, get out of our garage.
I was going to say, you created everything's going out of through your garage, right?
We converted the garage to be a print shop. Yeah, the AC.
So it has an AC in it. It's not like
it's nice.
We're roasting to death.
Decent garage. But but we need to expand. We need more presses. We need to hire people. We're just doing what we can for now. I think it's the same as everybody else is.
That's kind of the story, right? And it's like trying to figure that out.
Moment, you know, so it's keeping a roof over our heads in the moment, and people seem to still be very happy with it. So we're just keeping going.
You know, I love that. What I am kind of curious, so I'm gonna ask. I don't usually ask this question, but I just kind of figure, why not? Let's throw it out there. Is there like a store you would love to be in, or some kind of like something you want to put out into the universe of dream scenario or dream thing that you would love to have Atomic Drinkware be a part of?
You got any? Okay.
Do you have some?
There's the Cabana Bay would be really pretty cool, but because it kind of Cabana Bay.
Everyone who comes
to the resort
sees us. It's always like
retro themed
this
and
would be
everything.
so cool, Cabana Bay. I'm like, it would.
It just, you know, you expect to go in. We expected to go into their gift shop and find all this cool, you know, atomic vintage like stuff, retro stuff.
Like their windows.
It wasn't much of anything. It was all just the same universal gift stuff. It was all the same.
Have you out of curiosity reached out to them or talked to them?
Have not yet, but Right. Hey, Cabana Bay.
I know.
Hey, Cabana Bay. I mean, we'll put it out there. We'll put this as a clip and have Cabana Bay, and I'll tag them if you need to, because this is and just make sure to give me a little prop and just say, hey, love to Biggie there on making sure. But it's your. I mean, that would make total sense. Like these are the kind of conversations I like having with my guests, because sometimes I'm like you guys in the sense that there is some things that you kind of like have and you're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. But you need to almost hear someone else say it. So I'm going to say it to you. I think by the end of the year, you guys need to somehow reach out to someone in Cabana Bay, whether it's the manager or something, maybe drop off a set of glasses and be like, hey, what about one of your signature cocktails and one of this? And people can buy it in the gift shop. And we're a local company. Just saying.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
No,
That's
no.
There's a like magazine.
Yeah, I would love to go out to, like, you know, Palm Springs Modernism Week, you know,
Cool.
just to get out there and, you know.
We don't have a store in Manhattan yet.
I love it.
Yeah, we don't have a store in, like.
Well, I expect it, by the way, just so you know. Like I don't know if you have it. Like, it's funny because I say these things, but if you notice, my whiteboard is only somewhat written. I basically, like, I think these are great ideas and great concepts, and I think your brand like hits so many different parts. And the mere fact that there is such a huge love for the idea of like the vintage and the style that you guys are presenting and doing, I think like it just makes sense more places to have it. So I definitely I'm looking forward to seeing Atomic Drinkware in more places.
That's
You know,
another thing with the expansion. Like right now, it's just me and whatever my shoulder
yeah,
can handle. Somebody, we get an order for, if we get an order for several thousand glasses, that's gonna be an issue. But we're gonna, you know, that's part of the initial thing is the expansion is the being able to do more bigger wholesale orders, get in bigger places,
And customs too.
It costs a lot of more.
You know,
custom work too. We just did Monster Moku's glass. Monster Moku is they had a tiki monster thing at the
event. So we just did that. That event was at the end of September, and that was, you know, really one of our first custom jobs that we've done.
That we were like really particularly proud of, and
yeah,
you know, we didn't do the design. We didn't do the original design for it or whatever, but I made it so that it would be printable on a glass and everything, and then it was a five color glass. Five colors.
Wow.
So that's 5 times in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So, you know, so it was, you know, it's not an easy, it's not a, I wouldn't say it's a hard glass, but it's time consuming, you know. It's 5 more times you have to screw something up.
Correct.
5 more times you have
to
yeah, but yeah, so we're definitely looking at, you know, being able to start taking on custom orders. A lot of our customers reach out to us and they're like, hey, there's this event or there's this museum, or, you know, there's a lot of different options and opportunities that we've had to decline on, which, you know, is just because of just capacity, you know. Like we can only do so much, and so we definitely love to be able to expand and take on more custom work, as well as be able to keep up on all those basics and all those colors I want.
So where can people follow you and support you guys?
Yeah, for sure. On Instagram, we're on Atomic Drinkware. Our website is atomicdrinkware.com. You can sign up for our email list. So we're, you know, trying to do more emails and keep people in the loop when we release new designs. But right now, really, it's Instagram and our website. And then you can see what markets we're going to be at. Yep. We've got a pretty good schedule this rest of this year.
It's always nice to see people at markets and get feedback from customers, and nobody's come up and yelled at us yet.
You know, there's always the dopamine hit when you get the glass when it's first finished and you pull it off the press and you're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. But then there's the dopamine hit of everybody else picking it up and saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Like, watching their faces just, you know, light
up.
Or
even people who have come and said, wait, I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were local. Like I follow you on social media, and, you know, and then realizing that, yeah, hey, we're your neighbors. That's always fun. It's, you know, we love doing markets because we love just getting out and seeing people. And that's the fun part, because otherwise we're just literally in our garage.
We're not doing any
8 hours a day.
No midsummer outdoor markets.
No.
We ruled that out. We've learned our lesson.
I'm with you. Unless it's an indoor market, I'm not doing it in the summer.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely not. How often are you guys doing? Because I know you have so many different ideas and stuff. My last question before we wrap up: how many designs, collections do you have? Like a certain goal in mind, or is it as ideas come, or is it like every quarter you try to come up with one, every month? What do you guys have, like a rhyme or reason, or depending on what inspires?
And for every quarter, there's always, oh my gosh, there's
It's
always
okay.
the holiday. And then I aim for at least 2 more, whether that's a summer and a spring.
Yeah.
But
Quarterly releases, yeah.
we have so many, many ideas. And also we do a couple artist collaborations right now. So we collaborate with an artist named Scooter, who does our Sexton Cat and our Atomic Space Cat artwork. And he reached out to us. He had already had all the cat artwork. We were talking about needing one. And
kind of freaking out because we were like, how are we going to design a cat that's not
stealing somebody else's
cat? It's a black cat.
Yeah. And so that's been,
we're like, yeah,
really one of our top sellers. And
then you can cross, the social media followings and everything together. And it's been a very beneficial collaboration.
And then we also collaborate with 70s House Manchester, who does
that one as well.
1970s styles. And so that's on our rocks glass, and it's very 70s. And so we're looking at doing some more collaborations in 2026. We've got some different ideas for, maybe doing, instead of like a whole collection with a specific artist, maybe we're doing, each release is a different artist, like an artist series, with the idea that maybe we're only releasing that one glass, but at the end of the year, you can collect all 4. So it's some stuff we're playing with that might be 26, 27, but definitely pulling in some other local artists that, can take the load off, but also that we can, work together, because there are so many really talented people and really talented styles. And often we see art and we're like, that would look good on the cup.
We want that, and we're not even going to try to learn it or rip it off. It's no point. Just like the chef, and we'll reach out to him on Instagram and be like, hey, you want to do a collaboration or whatever, and
so hopefully we've got some stuff in the works.
I love it. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much to Rose and Nick for being on of Atomic Drinkware. Definitely make sure to check them out online. If you go to a market, especially during the holidays, perfect holiday gift to give someone, whether they're into mocktails, cocktails, or they just want cool cups. It's just a unique, different type thing.
They're not going to be mad about getting it for Christmas.
Correct. No one gets upset about having something thoughtful and creative and nice, especially good quality stuff like that.
We wanted to put out the whole point of this. If we couldn't make the product that we would want in our own house, we weren't going to do it. And it just so happened that we were able to do it. And it's better and better, so got to put it out there.
No, I love it. If you want to support me, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads. If you want to support the show, subscribe, tell your friends. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Biggie.
Thanks, Biggie.